Welcome to USA Climbing's 2025 National Team Trials. We are in Austin, Texas, where the best climbers in the country have come to compete with hopes of making the national team. We do only have 20 women, just because there weren't as many women signed up for the competition, and then there will be 8 to the final.
So you have to climb efficiently, you need to not make mistakes, and you have to just kind of keep moving. So knowing your beta is really important through that section. Once you get past there's a decent hold, but there's not really any feet. I think we'll see the stronger climbers shake.
Well, it's going to be exciting to see, and we're going to get going with our very first climber. Zachary Tan will be out first for the men. I'm excited to see what Zachary Tan has for us as he's approaching the wall for his attempt at the men's semifinal route. Already off to a great start. And the climbers did have 6 minutes to preview this earlier, so they were able to stand on the ground and guess at what they need to do actually on the wall. But he's already looking pretty confident through this section that you were talking about as being a little more balancy and really needing to be paying attention to everything you're doing so you don't slip off.
Yeah, the holds are flat. They're not very in-cut, so you can't control the positions as easily as you like. But, it's just meant to sort of make them a little nervous and reward those climbers who can move confidently through it. So he's looking good, though.
Yeah, and he even chose to use that bolt cover as a foot for a second, which was always kind of, they're not super, super slippery, but they're a little slippery, so it is a choice.
Yeah, it's definitely scary. Oh, very good.
Yeah,
Awesome.
He's already looking really great. And, Zach, one of the climbers who isn't necessarily as experienced on the elite circuit, he's still in his early 20s, so lots to learn, but already looking very confident. And he was 8th at team trials last year. So even though he's on the younger side, I guess early 20s isn't the youngest, but it's still pretty young, I would say.
Yeah.
So lots of confidence already.
Yeah, he's looking good. These days, it's just such a young person sport.
It is.
I guess it's always been that way, but they keep getting better every year. Yeah, this section of the climb, this move particularly is hard.
Nice.
Yeah. And this is kind of where you can't slow down and start making mistakes. It's best just to keep moving, keep punching through.
You see that clock there. The athletes have 6 minutes to complete their semifinal climb. Looks like he's already zapped for energy there, but really good effort. We're going to have our next athlete coming out for the men, Jacob Kleepole. To shake out and look ahead is a little harder, so you really want to have that plan A and plan B fresh in your mind.
Yeah, totally agree. Most comp routes these days don't afford you much time to make mistakes. Every mistake is basically one less move when you get towards the top of the wall. Like maybe here, for example, he's out of sequence. Not to say you can't climb it this way, but this is not the most efficient method, probably.
Able to get through it, though.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that we were talking about earlier with the confidence. As long as you confidently make those moves, you should be okay, even if you do get out of sequence. But the minute you start second-guessing, kind of back and forth motions with your body, trying to chalk, I feel like that's when you find yourself in trouble, that hesitation.
I totally agree. Yeah, and this style of setting low in the route is typical to try to not allow them to find much tempo. The good ones, like whoever climbed previously, Zachary Tan, he found a lot of tempo out the gate and got through it quickly, which was, I guess a testament to...
Yeah, he had a really nice rhythm.
Mm-hmm. But Jacob's showing us actually how hard the climbing is here and how weird and insecure it is.
It's always interesting, too, because I think as an athlete you expect there to be some uncomfortable movements, but there is something about them being lower to the ground that always kind of gets in your head, and your main goal is to kind of shake it off and keep going and try to find that good rhythm that you're looking for.
Yeah, especially in sport climbing when you're on the wall for so long and your mind can just start turning. None of the moves are so hard that you're redlining out the gate, but it starts to get in your head a little bit. It's an interesting game, and it's an interesting thing to take into account when route setting. How are these moves going to affect them mentally later in the climb?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Nice little knee scum that he found there.
Yeah.
To just take a little bit of pressure off the hands, but he does look pretty pumped. Here's a nice little quick replay of where he fell. we saw Zachary be able to hit that bump move really well. You see he was a little to the left of the hold, but also just, I think, a little more zapped. And we will get a look at our first female competitor. Sophia Shu will be up for the women, and we will have Josh Greenbaum for the men. Nice split screen we have now. So our first look at the women's route. You want to chat about that a little bit?
Yeah, I had a chance to go up it yesterday. We put the climbs back on the wall. I hadn't tried it yet. The climbing is, I would say, much more enjoyable on the women's. It seems to, like, especially in the midsection, there's a lot of opportunity to find tempo and flow. Again, the bottom is maybe a little harder than they would like, and that's by design, but it's more designed to throw them out of rhythm, make them think a little bit. People who aren't making good decisions are going to start getting pumped. But yeah, a nice climb. One kind of hard move, and depending on how you climb through the section where Sophia is exactly, she made a mistake and you can fall.
And I was going to say, this is her first team trials. She competed at nationals this year, was 41st. So this is her first semifinal. So a little more nerves probably coming into her first elite semifinal. And like you were saying, the women's opening moves are not as awkward as the men's, but they're still awkward enough to where if you make a little mistake, like what happened with Sophia, you can end up on the ground before you know it. But it's all learning. She's around 17 years old, so lots of comps ahead of her.
Yeah, definitely. I think as a competitor, everyone makes that mistake at some point in their career.
I've made that mistake.
Yeah.
I've fallen at the first draw of a semifinal route before. Super fun.
Yeah, it's nerve-wracking. You walk out and you have one try. And
there's also that thing that happens sometimes when you preview the route and you're uncomfortable about a couple moves down low, and all you can think about are those moves, and you don't really have the perfect plan, and then you just kind of discombobulate on the wall and fall off. It's really difficult. But Josh is doing a great job so far, working his way through the men's route. Oof, little foot bobble there on his placement, but wasn't fazed by it, luckily.
Yeah.
And now we are not going to start the next woman on the route until Josh is done climbing, so we will be with him for the rest of his attempt, and then we'll get back to both men and women at the same time.
This section of the climb, and we haven't seen anyone do it. Here we go. You can take an undercling and reach right hand. It's the method we found to be the easiest.
And Josh is pretty tall, 5'10", with a +2 wingspan, so that reach is well within his reach. Now, we haven't really seen people shake so much there.
No, he's looking comfortable.
Yeah.
He wasn't looking so comfortable in the first 3-4 draws, but now he's looking a bit more comfortable.
And I was going to say, after that little bobble down low, it is nice if you feel good enough to kind of take that quick shake to reset, shake off those little jitters that he was having so he can kind of reset for the rest of the route. And honestly, the meat of it right here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this section requires a lot of just keep moving, know where you want to go. Try not to slow down.
I was going to say, he's definitely a little too indecisive right now for how difficult that section of the route is. So that is going to end his attempt in addition to the hold choices. Nice shot of Joshua before he gets into this hard section. He was really indecisive here, went into the knee scum, took it out. That's a lot of extra time on those holds, and just energy was a little too zapped. We will have our next two athletes coming out. For the women, it's going to be Tate Jennings, and for the men, we have Joe Goodacre.
Yeah, he's for sure one of the most experienced guys in the field.
I know, it's wild. Where does the time go? And he was 11th at team trials last year, so no stranger. I mean, and he's been in semifinals many, many times.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I think he was in the final in bouldering last year for team trials.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, Joe climbs with so much heart. It's really fun to watch him go for it. He doesn't really leave much. It's all left on the wall when he's done. And I always enjoy watching competitors who climb with everything they got. He's able to climb confidently, but he also has that fitness where he can show up and and do the thing, and you're just like, oh, here Joe is on today.
This is so true. Yeah, it's really fun to watch him climb. Already off to a great start on this route. And you have Tate Jennings on the left. This is not her first semifinal either. Now she's setting up for this first really committing move for the women, and nicely done. A little hesitation, but able to work through it. Luckily, it made me a little nervous, honestly, how she was hesitating. But
yeah, it's a big move, but if you know the hold you're going to, it's actually a jug. It's one of those things around red point, that move isn't hard, but on sighting in a competition.
Also depends on the type of climber you are. If you are not afraid of dynamic movements, I think you'll have an easier time setting up for that. But if you prefer to be quite static in your climbing, I think it takes a little bit more pumping up to the move in order to like feel confident going to it. And again, confidence is key in execution here.
Yeah, on the left route, the holds here in this section are generally good, but the moves are big. Wow, opting to not put the foot up first, but good for her. Oh, Joe fell.
Looked really good going to that bump move, but then he kind of got a little spread out in order to get to that next like row of jibs. Oh, and Tate's going to just undershoot.
Yeah, the section that Joe's in is really steep. It almost feels like a roof when you're in it. And same for where Tate is.
Yeah, so this move here, he just kind of missed it. You see he only got his back two, I think.
He was actually out of sequence.
Oh, he was out of sequence too. Man, that doesn't make it any easier.
No, that's actually really impressive that he got there out of sequence.
Yeah.
And for Tate, this move is just big. It's hard.
You really have to rock over, and you can see her hips are a little too far to the left, so just not enough.
Yeah.
Exciting. I'm excited to see more of the women on this route, though. Up next, we have for the women, Ellie Gorison and Ben Hanna. We'll see how she fares in this competition today. And Mr. Ben Hanna, obviously a lot of experience under his belt. Another athlete who is a veteran at 26 years old in this sport. Actually, I was thinking about it. He's been competing in the Elite Series since he was, as I was doing my prep work, I was talking to my husband. I was like, wow, I can't believe Ben's been like doing these comps for like over 10 years actually, which is crazy. And I mean, at one point I was still competing with him, so it's wild. And he's only 26, he's not even 30 yet.
Crazy yeah, when you said 26, it was actually surprising. Like, he's only 26. I thought he was closer to 30.
Yeah. It's because they start when they're like 16. It's wild.
Yeah, he's such a familiar face. Also someone who climbs with a lot of heart.
Oh, yeah. Always leaves it all out there.
Yeah, he climbs with a lot of emotion. I love watching him. When he's on, there was a Bouldering Nationals a few years ago that I just remember him and Colin going toe-to-toe, boulder after boulder. And when he's at his best, it's really fun to watch.
Yeah, and it's always really important for Ben. I know making team, it means a lot to him. So, he's going to be giving it his all here in both disciplines this weekend, lead and boulder. And Ellie on the left looking really good, very confident to that more dynamic move that she just worked her way through. And we're about to see her up to where the high point is. Clearly feeling good, cutting feet.
Yeah.
See if she can rock over enough. Nicely done.
Yeah, looking good. Climbing with a lot of flow, a lot of good tempo. That's typically what it takes on comp routes.
Oh, most definitely. And, I think it's really cool, too, with this being her second time in semifinals. Like, she's definitely looking very comfortable here and confident. Wow, great recovery after that foot slip.
Definitely.
Man, she's cruising.
Yeah, this section of the women's climb is just sustained. The angle of the wall isn't as steep as it was below, and so you're a bit more in the feet, but the holds start getting smaller. So the climbing becomes a little bit more technical. And entering into these blue holds, the difficulty starts ramping up here. So let's see how she does.
Probably good to get that little foot slip out of the way down low, because I feel like it can't really afford it here. Ben's really having to fight hard. Gosh, I don't even think he has all four fingers on it. It looks like his index finger is off. Wow. And that is the fight that we expect to see from Ben Hanna, as Ellie's really doing a great job making her way through this balancy, slopey technical section. Just a little fumble there as she got into that side pull undercling. Really nice replay here of Ben Hanna fighting to get control of that hold there. Man, he was really not taking too much time. He had a really nice flow at the beginning, looked very precise. So must have just been a little more zap for energy. And right here, we'll see Ellie just kind of fumble the hold there a little bit. Just enough to pop you off, but high up on the route, new high point for the women. So up next for the men, we have Spencer Schmick. And for the women, we have Elle Gordon. Elle taking a few more seconds to look at the route as Spencer is already off and, well, not running, off and climbing.
I like Spencer's style.
I do, yeah. Really nice flow there from Spencer.
Yeah, coming out of the gate, rocking.
He was in semifinals at team trials in 2024, so a familiar spot for him. Didn't quite make it into the semi at nationals. Both competitions are quite competitive. There is a little caveat to team trials. Not everybody can come to this competition, so we do see a little bit less attendance just because you have to have certain rankings in order to compete at this competition, whereas nationals is far more open. But that just means that the level is very, very high here. We just have fewer competitors than at nationals.
Yeah, qualifying for this event is an impressive feat in its own right. Getting into the semi is really difficult. So the climbs are hard, and it's even the ones who don't make it to finals have come a long way. It's really impressive.
I really like the shakes he just took there. He's looking really fresh still. We'll see. I shouldn't have said that. I was going to say a foot pick on that angle is just really energy zapping, and I hope people at home can tell how hard this section is and can imagine how intense the angle is, because it really, just any mistake is like taking moves away from yourself. Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. You got the hold like Ben as well.
Yeah, it must feel like kind of weird when you get it. Elle doing a great job over on the left, really just like we saw Ellie actually, just kind of embracing the swinginess of that section of the route versus like trying to keep all 4 points on. And unfortunately, we just lost Spencer there, where we've seen a lot of the men fall, as Elle is continuing on and looking really fresh still. A little bobble of the clip there, though.
Yeah, Spencer came out gunning, and then he sort of slowed down a little bit. I think he made a few mistakes in the bottom that might have cost him a move or two in the yellow section, actually. He was able to just sort of muscle his way through a few moves in that purple climbing down low, but nonetheless, a really good fight.
Yeah, definitely really good fight. And, you know, these athletes know that, right? Because the competition is so talented, the field is so strong, they know that they need to fight for every hold.
Yeah, it's crazy how competitive the field is, and just a plus can be the difference at the end of the day. I've seen enough of these to watch the athletes come out and they feel like maybe they've underperformed, to realize that later they're in finals and actually what they did was great.
Yeah, it's hard. You just don't know when you're climbing. You have to wait and see the results later, because it's just so hard to know where people might have fallen. Elle taking a moment to try to reassess this balancy section, kind of uncomfortable with her body position at this time, so let's see if she can figure it out. I think a good idea to, take a second to rest here, because you are able to stand on your feet at the moment, and soon it's going to get a little more difficult. Really fighting to get over. Nicely done. Oh,
come on, Elle.
Figure out where she wants to put her foot. I like the effort to keep going. Here's a nice replay here of Spencer. He was so close to figuring out how to get to that next hold. How bad is the next hold, though?
It's okay, but it's blocked, and it's turned very vertically. So it's good once you've attained it and you've brought your feet up. Until then, it's not.
And another quick look at what Elle was trying to do here. I think standing in that little stem kind of messed up. Up next for the women, we have Kestrel Pikevich and Austin Wrights.
The field is so competitive these days, and there's so many new young kids on the circuit that I see new names every year. I set these things, and it's so cool to get surprised by just be like, oh, I don't know who that name is, and they come out and just smash. It's great because I think it shows how much the sport is growing.
I totally agree. It's funny because, like, Kestrel, for example, is another athlete that I used to coach at ABC. like a decade ago.
Okay.
But I mean, as soon I'm going to be running out of those athletes, right? Because,
sure.
She's already competing here and like 16 years old, almost 17, and I haven't coached in 10 years, so I'm sure in the next 5 years there will be athletes, and I'm like, I've never seen this name before.
Right, totally.
I'm still kind of getting to cheat from my past years of coaching.
Yeah, the U.S. scene is pretty strong. We have on the lead crew this guy Pedro, who comes from Ecuador, but he's a setter in Canada right now, and it's really interesting to hear the perspective of international climbers and setters on the strength of the U.S. field, because the U.S. field is pretty highly regarded internationally. So even like the midfield climbers here are really strong, and for me to see, there's a lot of names on the list every year. There's new ones that I don't know, and they just come out, and it's really impressive.
Yep, the pool of talent is deep. Austin on the right was taking a little bit of time to rest actually on the sloper, which I thought was interesting. Always kind of hard to get energy back when you're kind of having to contract the muscles like he was, but he does really nicely done by him. Yeah,
Kestrel used the bolt cover down low, which all those black circles in the wall, for those of y'all that don't know, are just meant to cover up the bolt hangers so that no one inadvertently steps on one, because you can be called off the route. So we use those to protect the climbers from themselves, but they do stick out from the wall a little bit. They're really slippery, very risky proposition to stand on them, but Kestrel just put her foot on it and kept going.
I think especially if you're often doing the bouldering discipline as well, I think you get used to stepping on that dual textured surface a lot, and with the slippery surface specifically. So I think people have more confidence to step on them than maybe they would have like 10 years ago.
For sure.
We lost Austin on the right, unfortunately, in that area that we've seen a lot of the men fall, but he had really kind of just lost it. Another quick look at Austin. So close. You can see if hopefully at some point we can get a little look at that blocker, but you can see how he just kind of missed hitting the hold in the proper spot that is blocked, just kind of spitting him off the wall there. And
yeah, Kestrel just looking a little pumped here. Those holds are not in cut. They're kind of sloping, so you can't really just grab them and own them. You have to position your body properly.
We have for the men Nathan Monty and Samira Bisht for the women. Not as many elite competitions under her belt, lots of youth competitions, but I do think coming from youth to elite is a big jump, so you have to get that experience on this circuit as well. And she is right on the wall.
Yeah, exciting to see a finalist on the semifinal here, see if she can earn her spot.
I do think that if you've made it into a round, it gives you more confidence that you are capable. I really like how Nathan was just kind of centering himself, taking some deep breaths before getting on the wall here. So much of climbing is mental. Obviously, there is a huge physicality to it, but I think it's your head that either gets you to the next round or keeps you out of it. So totally I think agree. Having that time to center beforehand and doing whatever you need to do to make yourself feel the most confident before getting on the wall is really, really smart.
Yeah.
You see Brooke Rabbit do that a lot, actually. Samira doing a great job so far, really confidently climbing through this opening section. That first committing move for the women's route. And then I feel like the climbing for the next couple moves are pretty straightforward. You just kind of have to keep moving with a nice pace, and then they'll get into that blue section. So
I didn't know that Samira was from Dallas. I'm originally from Dallas, and she's coached by Kim Puccio, Alex Puccio's mom, who's an old friend of mine.
And mine.
And yours, yeah. I remember setting regional championships back in Dallas, 10 years ago, and she was always there with her team, and so we've known each other for a long time, and it's cool to see that she's still coaching and having athletes at this level.
Yeah, it's really exciting to see how she's kind of grown that team.
Yeah,
there was like a split off of Team Texas some years ago, and she's definitely done a great job.
Yeah, they train out of a really small gym in Frisco. and she makes a lot out of the resource that she has there, which goes to show you don't need much to create strong climbing.
You really don't. You honestly, all you need is a spray wall.
Yeah. The best climbers in the world, that's what they use.
Nathan has a really nice flow. Honestly, one of the best we've seen so far. Really not taking time there. I think that was huge. We've seen a lot of the men kind of hang out in that little roof section for a little too long, and it really just zaps your energy. As Samira also had a really great flow, just kind of undershot that hold. That there's a tick there, that piece of chalk mark, in order to help the athletes line up nicely into that blocked hold.
Didn't clip yet.
Wow.
But wow.
I think that was worth it, right? Even if he's feeling pumped, to risk to clip there and miss a hold is not helpful. Just a nice close-up of Samira just undershooting. And honestly, I think her hip position was a little lower than it should have been for that move. And she had her left foot caught on the volume a little bit, which, I hate when that happens. Really nice fight here from Nathan.
Yeah, really smart decision. That's what you see with experienced climbers like him, is that he knew.
And with that, we have our next two athletes. For the women, we have Annika Shoemaker. For the men, we have Lucas Gerhardt. She was in semifinals at Nationals for lead as well, so nice to see her back here again. Oh, you know what? Yeah. And then Lucas has been competing the last couple of years and was in semifinals at Nationals. That was his first semifinal, I believe, so this will be his second in one of the elite championship competitions. So that's always nice to start getting that consistency, because that's a big thing with comps, right? Consistency.
Yeah.
However you can get it.
Totally. The more reps, the better. I can't imagine what it's like to be in the first final, or first semi for that matter, where okay, if I climb well here, I could be in the final.
This might just be, I don't think it's really a hot take, but in my opinion, I feel like your first time in a semi or a final is the best, because you've already done something you've never done before, so everything else is kind of the cherry on top. I think when you've made it once, you always want to make it again, so that's when that pressure can start to build a little bit, and so it's kind of that balance of making sure you can perform and then not let the pressure kind of get to you. So when you can already do that a second time, that's just helpful in kind of alleviating that pressure for the future.
Sure, yeah. You have nothing to lose the first time.
Yeah.
It's just like, let's go.
Yeah, that's the best.
Yeah.
And you can never get it back.
Yeah, but that's the thing I think you're always striving for when you get back into a semi or a final, is how do I find that state of mind? Because it's definitely the best way to climb well.
Annika's really kind of
cruising,
flying through, and like I said before, I feel like bouldering is her stronger suit, so you see how she's kind of moving through these moves pretty easily. Also probably knowing that maybe her endurance is not as high as maybe some of the other lead athletes, so moving quickly through the sections that don't feel too hard for her is smart, so she can try to conserve her energy. And gosh, Lucas is looking really fresh right now, fresher than most of the men we've seen. I'm hoping we can see him get a little higher. Ooh, a little bobble there for Annika. So good. You have to go so slow here. I love that move.
He's already clipped, so he's ready to just keep going.
Really nicely done.
Big drive-by move. First look at this move.
Yep.
This hold's good.
Nice.
Yeah, and now the struggle is that you don't have feet. Yeah,
really nice climbing for him. Nice little replay here of Annika. Just kind of I think she was a little off balance here.
Yeah.
Didn't find the right lower body position to be able to match there. And then Lucas just losing the feet here after all of that intense climbing. If he would have had that foot stay on the volume, or I think you want to swing it out right?
Yeah, you want to swing it out right. Yeah, it's hard to keep your mind clear whenever your body is under so much physical stress. That's one of the cool things about sport climbing, and that the great sport climbers are able to keep their mind calm while their body is just, undergoing enormous pump. And it's something that I think is hard to understand if you don't sport climb a lot.
Yeah.
But whenever you find that flow state and you're able to, it's sort of meditative, and I think the great sport climbers are able to channel it quickly.
It's so impressive to watch. On the left, we have Morgan Taji, and on the right, for the men, Luke Williams are off in climbing on their attempts of the semifinal route. Both athletes have been in a semifinal before.
Yeah, Morgan is a route setter, actually. She works at the Bouldering Project in Salt Lake.
I saw that she had started doing that. That's another thing that's been really cool to see in the last couple of years. You're seeing a lot of the athletes, or not a lot, but a few of the athletes that are currently on the circuit have started route setting, and I love to see it. I think it's great. And it's great not only for the sport, but also I think as an athlete, I think it does help you read routes a little bit easier than maybe some other athletes because you have that insider knowledge.
Yeah, totally agree. You understand what the setters are trying to do, how they're trying to accomplish it. All the little subtleties might be a bit more apparent. But I think also for route setting in the future of it, having competitors route set, they have the experience and they know what it's like mentally, which is a huge advantage when route setting for a competition, but they're also just good climbers. And as we've been talking about, the climbers just keep getting better. So forerunning for this stuff gets increasingly more difficult every year. So it's nice to have good forerunners, and the competitors are good at it.
100% agree. Nice cross there for Luke Williams. So now he has the high point. Obviously, he doesn't know that. And this is right where you were saying they might have a second to be able to rest, but he clearly is not going to do that. Straight into the next hold. We'll have to see if how that's been going. That could be enough to get him into the final, but we'll have to see. We have plenty of athletes still to come. Morgan looking pretty chill here, just kind of taking a little moment to rest before assessing this next section that is definitely a change in climbing style on the route, a little more balancy, kind of almost like a slabby element to it, in a sense of how you need to go slower on those slopers. So after moving so quickly in the previous section to have to tone it down here and be a little more subtle, I think it's good to take a moment before going.
Yeah, I think that in my experience, she came in foreran for a youth nationals that I was setting at a couple years ago, and she climbed so well in the slabs. It was really, really impressive. I think that's more her style.
Mm-hmm. Nice look at Luke's attempt. That's a hard move. You said it was bigger than it seems too, right? Yeah,
it's at the end of all of that power climbing, you do a huge dead point to a sloping pocket, and then you're like, I just want one hold, please, to just stop for a second.
We have our next couple athletes, Hugo Hoyer for the men, and we have Hannah Breen for the women. He was the national champion in lead in 2023, second at team trials last year, and second at nationals last year. So we'll see if he can keep his reign in the podium space.
Should be a good indication of. We'll see how he climbs, but Hugo tends to bring out the best when it matters.
He does. He's really good under pressure. And Hannah, this is her first semifinal. So we were talking about that earlier, how when it's your first, you kind of have that freedom to just every move you make be the cherry on top. So we'll have to see what she's able to do here. And Hugo's already making quick work of the opening section of the route. Little uncertainty there for Hugo. Looked like he wasn't super comfortable moving off the sloper, but it looks like he's already recovered quite well in terms of looking calm, cool, and collected again.
Yeah, Hannah has a really relaxed demeanor. So, yeah, I think you're right. This first time in semi, nothing to lose, just enjoying herself.
And again, Hugo's honestly looking a little more uncomfortable than I would have thought here. I mean, it is a really uncomfortable section, but obviously with all of his experience, I'm a little surprised, but he's also, wow. That was such
nothing
good
to lose.
Commitment from Hannah on the left. I love to see it. So she is 5 feet tall with a 5-foot wingspan. So she has a +0 is what that would mean. So needing to jump there is exactly what she kind of had to do. And that was really impressive.
Yeah, I love to see it.
Yeah, you don't really see it that often, especially after seeing so many women be able to kind of just pop to it with kind of 3 points off versus 4. A little lower than I thought Hugo would have fallen on this route, but honestly, after making a few mistakes just with his commitment to body positions down low, I think he did a great job recovering, and hopefully it's enough for him to get into the final.
He was fighting for 4 or 5 moves there.
Yeah. And that's something that experience will get you, right? Like, it's not that easy to fight in sections like that where they're that difficult and taxing, but because he has so much experience, like, he knows, like, okay, I need these next few holds, so he's going to do everything he can to get it.
Yeah, definitely. Here again, using the bolt cover.
Smart.
Love
I mean,
it.
especially being smaller, she needs to definitely, if there are any options in terms of getting her feet a little higher, that's always going to help. I mean, you'll see athletes stand in a T-nut hole, right?
Wow.
In order to do that sometimes.
Look at her. She's really very resourceful. This little heel toe cam.
Smart.
To help shake. Yeah.
You know what I'm liking that I'm seeing from her is, you know, every now and then you see athletes that really know how to climb for their body dimensions, and like really, and they're not thinking about what the route setter wants at all. It's all innately what they feel they can do with the dimensions that they're given, and I love to see people really commit to that in their climbing, and those are the people who generally have the most success, and it's really cool to see her doing that here as one of the younger climbers competing in this competition, and one with a little less elite experience. I think that's really cool to see.
Yeah, definitely. Nothing to lose, just keep on trucking.
Oh, I'm sorry, this is her second semifinal. She was 22nd at team trials. You've made one, making another one is a lot. I'm so glad we're getting a replay of that move. Because she went with the same hand, which is so wild.
It's
oh my
crazy.
Gosh, impressive.
It seems like she decided mid-jump that she's going right hand.
I mean, she had the height. And it's funny because a lot of times I feel like people forget about the explosiveness in their lower body when they're dynoing, but she like fully committed, and I love that. So just a little bobble there before getting into that really bouncy section, but great climbing from Hannah Breen. Getting a look at our next two athletes ready to climb. For the men, we have Brendan Beauchamp, and for the women, we have Alexandra Inglaterra.
Yeah, Brendan is for sure one of the up-and-coming climbers who a lot of people have their eye on. You know, his coach, Enrico, is a route setter from San Diego, where Brendan's from. So we hear in the route setting circle about, if Enrico speaks highly of somebody, it comes with some weight, and he has spoken highly of Brendan for a long time.
Yeah.
Said, wait till this kid gets a little older. He's one of the best that I've ever coached. Which just says a lot coming from Enrico. In the last couple of years, we've really seen Brendan start to come into his own. So I'm excited to watch him today and in the next upcoming years.
Yeah, I remember when he first started on the elite circuit, always clearly really talented. Also one of the shorter competitors. He's 5'5" with a +2 wingspan. So, and I think when he was 16, actually, coming on, he was even shorter. So it was a bit difficult at the beginning, but he's found a really nice flow, I feel like, in the last couple of years, and had some pretty great comp results. So it's been cool to see him kind of, get into that nice flow of making finals in both disciplines. Yeah,
he's gaining experience, which is cool to see. He's climbing. When he first came out, he had the physical ability, but I don't think he was there. He just needed to go make a few mistakes.
Yeah, it's hard.
Learn from them, and then keep after it, and that's what he's done.
I think it's really hard, especially on the men's side, coming from youth to elite and kind of breaking into that final round. I think, especially when you're 16, I think you need a couple years a lot of times to be able to make it into the finals, just to get that extra development. Yeah.
Brendan looking a little pumped low here.
Good choice to keep moving, though.
Yeah.
Alexandra's looking really good. Not going to make it happen for Brendan. Alexandra has really nice flow, and she's been resting along the way, so I think we should see something great for her on this route.
Yeah, Climb IQ. This is Meghan McDonald's team, I believe, out of Colorado. I love the team name because most of her athletes climb with a lot of intelligence.
Yeah.
I've told her that. I'm like, the team name is fitting. They make good decisions. They move really intelligently. Megan's a really good coach.
She's a great coach.
The athletes coming up through her program are good. It's fun to watch.
Yep. Yeah, Alexandra really taking her time and being so precise with every foot placement, which is exactly what you want to do here in order to say. And also, every time trying to find that straight arm rest, take a little shake here and there, trying to conserve that energy. Nicely into that match. We've seen a lot of women struggle there. And right onto the tip. Ooh.
Yeah, the screw on
Almost
she's
fell
on.
out there.
And this is that physical stress, but you can tell her mind is calm.
Yep.
She's really aware of her surroundings, her options. It's paying off.
New high point here.
Yeah. Let's see where she can get.
She's in a nice, I mean, the left arm is bent, so she's having to kind of exert more energy there, but it was nice to get a couple more shakes. Wow. And wow, that was a great fight from Alexandra. That's going to put her in a really nice spot.
Yeah. That was a really good performance.
Very exciting. Maybe here's a quick replay. Oh, man. A little dry fire on that right hand for Brendan.
Definitely. He looked a little pumped, and that section is really powerful, big moves, which is a style that's going to be harder for Brendan due to his stature, but
it's still possible.
Totally.
And Alexandra doing a great job getting to that new high point, looking very smooth throughout the entire climb. Great decision making. Really exciting to see that from her. Quick look at our leaderboard. For the men, you have Luke Williams in first currently, Lucas Gerhardt in second, Hugo Hoyer third, Nathan Monty fourth, Austin Wrights fifth, Zachary Tan sixth, and Spencer Schmick seventh. For the women, we have Alexandra Inglaterra, Ellie Goerson, Samira Bisht, Morgan Taji, Elle Gordon, Annika Shoemaker, Kestrel Pikevich, Hannah Breen. So that's your top 8 at the moment. For the men, we have Vale Everett, and then we have Isabella Horner on the left for the women.
Vale already on the wall.
Yeah, quick to it.
Yeah, he's ready to go.
It's nice to see. I usually like to take a couple seconds, but whatever. If you feel fresh enough in your mind, you got to do what feels best. This is the first team trials event for Isabella, and also her first semifinal in lead. So we'll be excited to see what she does here. And Vale is just quickly moving.
Yeah,
really digging this hairstyle, by the way, I have to say. Yeah,
it's got a really good like early 90s thing going on.
Funny, because he wasn't around during the 90s at all, so he doesn't know. But it all comes back, right? Remember, like, hearing that growing up and now, like, getting to see it as we are old people?
Yeah. I thought the 70s was cool when I was his age, and now they think our era was cool.
I know. Vale making really great decisions. Wow, nice commitment there from Isabella. Earlier in ISO, I was talking to Maya Madare, and basically, I lived in Austin before she was born.
Wow.
I know. That doesn't make you feel great.
Yeah, the more I do this, I get to a point. I'm at a point now where I've been climbing longer than most of them have been alive.
We shouldn't talk about that. There was a little hesitation to move on to that volume for Vale, but I think he's done a good job finding that flow again.
Yeah, the section maybe is surprising some people.
I like how he was able to keep that knee scum to do that bump. That was a nice energy saver.
Yeah, from Vertical World. He's from Seattle. Vertical World was the first climbing gym in the U.S., I think built in like 84.
So before I was born.
Yeah, that, it's not that long ago. Our sport's pretty young. And one of the USA Climbing Level 5 route setters, Brett Johnston, his dad opened the gym. So as far as climbing royalty goes, Brett is about as royal as they come.
Wow, that was really great. So this is the second time we've seen anyone here. So Vale tying the high point right now.
Great job.
Just needs to be able to figure out how to clip to keep going. But I really liked all of this decision-making he had in that section. Little bumble.
Yeah.
Isabella looking really calm here. So neat, which is a good place to calm down because these movements are a little slower and more precise. So nice to take a little rest there and just stay calm, not let your heart rate get too high as much as you can control it.
Yeah, found a nice drop knee there to clip.
Honestly, looking better than most of the people we've seen here.
Yeah. Oh, no. I was just about to say,
Commentator's curse.
Bringing the left foot out is going to be challenging, and she took the left foot out and reached all at the same time. And
really nice climbing, though. It'll be interesting.
I mean, you nailed it. It's slow climbing there, and she went quickly, And those are the sort of decisions that can make or break getting into finals.
Exactly. And now we have our next two athletes coming out. Ava Kovtanovic on the left, and for the men on the right, Ami Agato. She's competed in youth at World Championships, so she's had some I was trying to say she's had international experience on the youth side, but it wasn't coming out. Sometimes the words just escape you, but right to it. And I know she was a little bummed about lead finals. She was one of the athletes that wasn't able to make it out of that hand jam, but it happens.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Melina made it out of the hand jam and topped the route, so it was possible, but it's always hard when that happens and you kind of don't have the experience you wanted. So I know she's going to be wanting to get back in the final and have a different experience at this competition.
Totally. I mean, back to the Holt sponsors providing materials for a more modern style.
Yeah. And it's something, hand jams have been something we've seen a lot on the international circuit, mainly for the men, but it's always a possibility for either gender. So getting that experience with different styles of climbing is always a good thing, and the goal is to prep people for the international circuit. So you gotta learn.
Yeah, we were specifically asked to not have any hand jams in this competition, just as it's a team selection event.
Yeah.
It's a skill set that can be taught, and it's not that difficult, but with no experience it can feel absolutely impossible.
Oh yeah.
So the coach Josh Larson said that he'll teach them to hand jam once they get on the team.
I was going to say too, honestly, something like a hand jam, if you are a very strong climber, I think it's actually more of a disadvantage approaching something like a hand jam, because your innate way of working through it is to kind of muscle through it, which is exactly what you don't want to do. So
sure. Yeah.
It doesn't really...
It's like a technical thing, not a strength thing.
Yeah.
Ami is from Dallas. I don't know him personally, but coming from Dallas, I know his name, and I've seen him climb at the gym. I was just bouldering at one of the movements there, and there was a kid to my right just smashing boulders. I was like, who is this guy?
He's like, hey, I'm Ami.
And I didn't speak with him, but I realized, I was like, that must be Ami. So, yeah, I'm excited to watch him climb. Dallas has strangely produced a lot of good climbers over the years, maybe it's because there's no rocks to go climb on.
Yeah.
We just stay in the gym, but...
You're included in that, yeah?
Oh, I don't know if I put myself in the great climber category, but these kids smoke me.
Oh, man, we lost Ava.
It's been a long time since I was a competitor, but I remember that watching, and you don't want to root for someone to fall, but you're patient to see what happens, because their performance could dictate your...
if you make it to that next round.
Yeah, once you've done what you can do, you're just waiting and hoping you get in.
And with that, we have our next climbers already on the wall. On the left for the women, Annalise Van Hong. And on the right for the men, Max Kaplan. Annalise is from Berkeley, California. Max originally from Boulder, but in school in St. Louis Obispo right now at Cal Poly, I believe.
Very cool.
Smart kid.
Yeah.
Both of these athletes, no stranger to the semifinal, and we've seen Annalise on podiums in both the lead and boulder discipline. She's I was living in Sacramento for 5 years, and I remember hearing a lot about her before she was, she wasn't even old enough for the elite circuit at that time, and so I was kind of just waiting to see her get on the circuit, and she's made a huge splash in the last couple of years, so it's been really exciting to watch her climbing.
She was one of those new names that was surprising people. You're like, and if you were from California, you
already
knew.
Heard, yeah.
Yeah, but coming from Texas, going to set national events here and there, just another new name on the running order, and lo and behold, she was smashing.
Yeah. I really am digging her hair color choice. It's reminding me of like a Starburst or something right now, which is awesome. I love that.
Complementary to the holds on the route.
And Max Kaplan, another previous ABC kid that I actually coached.
Okay.
He was on my Junior Elite Plus or whatever, Junior Advanced Plus at one point. So it's fun to see these kids that I knew when they were like 11.
Yeah, you did some good work. There's a lot of them still climbing.
I can't take credit for that, but it was fun to be able to watch them climb, and now they're like on the big stage.
Oh, Max, wow, he goes right hand. That is so difficult to do.
Yeah.
Out of sequence, but I think you can make it work. It's just not
It's a little
easier.
harder.
Yeah.
Oh, that was actually smart. He could have maybe gone to that right hand.
Yeah.
We've seen a few people get out of sequence there, and a lot of really seasoned competitors too.
Yeah, Luke did that. I mean, you get to that point and you have to bump your left hand 3 times in a row. So your right hand is just getting tired, and then you realize, oh, wait, I have to go left hand again. And then you realize I have to go again with my left hand, and you don't want to. So I guess if you can go right hand, you can make that choice, but it's sort of a dead-end road.
Annalise looking really good here.
Yeah.
Nice and slow, great body position,
Exactly.
great commitment. Also, you can tell she has a lot left in the tank, which not every athlete who's gotten here has.
No. Yeah, just 2 draws of climbing left. But yeah, really good change in tempo. And has that, she's always had that mental composure. She never seems that stressed.
Yeah. Yeah, she kind of keeps like that same level of like emotion, I feel like, throughout the rounds of competition. Like, you don't really see it go up and down. Some athletes, you can see like their emotions change so much, and she stays very level throughout.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's
A new high point.
really good performance.
Declan Osgood taking a quick look at the route on the right for the men, and on the left we have Olivia Ma.
Declan had
still teenagers.
He fell low on the first qualifier. It was a really strange climb that, one little mistake and you could just slip, and that's what happened to him. But he came out on the second route and was cruising. He looked really, really good. So I think the ranking that he has right now maybe isn't reflective of where he could be. So I'm really excited to see what he does on this climb. He's sort of one of those that we expect to see in finals, but you never know.
That's one of the things about the qualifying round that's nice, having those 2 routes. In case you do make a mistake, you can still like possibly save yourself with a really good performance on the second one. I think that's nice to have that in the qualification round for this discipline, because this discipline's kind of brutal in that way, because just having the one shot, quick little bobble, good fix there for Declan. That's a little scary. Nice commitment from Olivia.
2 hands from Olivia.
See, I think dynoing with 2 hands makes more sense. That's why when Hannah did the one, I was like, whoa! Yeah. That's risky.
It feels safer to go 1 hand on that move, but it's probably easier to go 2.
Yeah, I guess in some sense, going 2 hands might be scary for people in the sense that, like, you're fully off the wall, but I think you have more control when you catch it with 2 hands. And Olivia is another one of the shorter competitors, just 5'2" with a +2, so she's definitely gotten used to having to jump, whether it's in lead or boulders. She knows that she might have to do that. So I think over the years, specifically watching her, she's gotten more and more comfortable with it, which is nice to see.
Yeah, it's a sort of requisite thing in lead climbing these days. You've got to be ready to jump, which I feel like maybe 4 years ago, you didn't see as many jumps in lead, but with the combined format, everyone started doing both bouldering and lead, and the style started mixing.
Yeah,
I love.
Oh yeah, I love it too, and I mean, especially on the international circuit, you do see a lot of that more. So it's been nice to kind of pepper it into the competitions here, so that athletes can get more used to it. Declan looking more fresh than we've seen anybody else here. Not surprising at all, considering how talented he is in this discipline. Some little bobbles down low, but really nice recoveries. So I think he's able to have enough left in the tank here. Yeah. So we might get to see, that next section from him. We'll have to see a nice clip there.
Yeah, Declan showing that hold is actually okay if you have insane amounts of fitness like he does.
Olivia as well, looking really nice and calm, really precise. Another one of the athletes that wasn't able to have the performance she wanted at nationals, so probably looking to, she was in the final, but I think she would have liked it to go a little differently.
Okay.
Declan off, but in a new high point, so he'll be pleased when he sees that. We're getting close to actually seeing a man on the head wall.
Yeah.
As Olivia is making her way through the head wall and getting ready for this next section that's quite tenuous, and you said you have to get a heel hook here to kind of, oof.
Yeah.
She kind of, do you think prematurely kind of bumped? We will have Bryce Nix for the men and Quinn Mason for the women. Not his first semifinal. He was in semis at nationals in 2023 where he placed 11th. Also another Texas athlete out of Dallas. So what, like a 4-hour drive to get to Texas or to get to Austin?
Yeah, it's like
Because Texas
3.5
is a big
hours
state.
from here. Well, yeah, Waco Tanks is only a 10-hour drive from here.
Oh, only 10 hours. That's still pretty far.
It might be closer to Denver.
Yeah. Quinn Mason on your left, a very familiar face. She was third at this last year's Nationals, won Nationals in 2021, 17th in team trials 2 years ago and 9th last year. So just missed out of finals last year at team trials. So she'll be looking to make her way back in this year. Bryce, another younger athlete in that 16 to 17-year-old range. I have birth dates from Nationals, so I'm not sure, or not birth dates, but ages from Nationals, so I'm not sure if people had a birthday between now and then, so that is why we have a assessed age here.
Yeah, Quinn is a veteran. She
has
been after it for a long time. And you can see in her climbing, she climbs with so much experience. Watching her in the qualification yesterday, she just has this calmness about her that's really nice. Especially,
lead is something she's always been so good at, this discipline specifically, and always has had such a nice flow. So it's always so cool to see it work out in her favor, because no matter how talented you are, everyone has like off days, and results don't always show how talented you are. So it's nice when it all works out for her, because she is such a good lead climber.
Yeah, tons of fitness.
Veteran, but only 21.
It was crazy. It seems like in the men's field, this section of the climb is, this part of the field is having a bit less trouble getting into this part, and hopefully we'll see most everyone getting up into the purple holds.
Yeah, it would be nice to see that trend from now on, which is even more surprising that we saw some of those bigger names that might have qualified lower kind of struggle here and not make it through. So
yeah,
that just shows you how competitive the field is.
Yeah, the climbing is just so difficult. You have to come in top form to have a chance.
I always love how quickly Quinn moves, too. You see she still has 3 minutes and 30 seconds left, and she's already more than halfway through the route. So you never have to worry about the clock with her, which is nice. That's always stressful when you watch the athletes that kind of push it with the clock when we're counting down 10 seconds.
Yeah, I think that's the experience showing. She just makes good decisions and keeps going.
Well, also, I mean, everyone has different tempos. I mean, Jessie Grouper is guilty of pushing that 6-minute clock all the time.
Yeah.
A little slip there for Bryce, but
unfortunate. He looked good.
Might be enough, though, to still get him in.
Totally.
So we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, he looked great. But honestly, if he gets in, better to have that slip happen this round than in the final round.
Yeah, Quinn looking pretty composed here.
I was going to say, I would imagine she sets the heel right away. I think she always makes really good decisions.
Yeah.
With heel hook specifically. Oh, but she is second-guessing it. She is a bit on the taller side, so being able to do that might have made more sense. But now, again, like, you're going to be out of the feet, so see if she can get it back up there.
Figure out a way to navigate through this.
That took a lot of energy, though. I don't know. Oh, my gosh. She's just on the back two there.
Yeah.
Or middle two, I think, actually. Yeah.
Impressive. The hold is good, but not that good.
After all that climbing, too.
Yeah.
Smart move trying to keep the feet going with her. Almost got to look at that last move, but really nice climbing. Puts her in a great position. We'll be seeing her in the final, barring any appeals. Up next, we have Maya Madere for the women. We have for the men,
Jaden
Perez.
We were climbing in Maple Canyon in Utah, and she tagged along, and I don't know how old she was at the time, 12. She was really young, and she got on this 13A that was just like a 120-foot pitch. And she goes to the top. She falls a couple times, finding the holds, figuring out the beta. And after 3 or 4 tries, she keeps falling on this one move. And in my head, the wall is so big. And then she would pull up and go to the top of the wall. So she'd been on the top of the wall, this 120-foot wall, like 4 times in that day. And I thought, there's no chance
she's going to send
that you're going to do this route. You need to just call it, and we'll come back tomorrow. And she tried it, I think, 4 more times. Ended up sending it like on her 9th try of the day.
Gosh.
And I was like, who is this girl, and how does she have the ability to just keep climbing to the top of the wall over and over and over?
That is wild.
Yeah,
lots of stubbornness there.
For sure, but
or perseverance, I would say.
It was perseverance, and it was just an impressive amount of fitness.
Oh, yeah. Well, she's always had a lot of fitness, that's for sure. Nice execution there.
Mm-hmm.
Jaden's from Temecula, California, and this is his second semifinal on the elite circuit. He was 23rd at Nationals in 2024, so clearly after the qualification round, putting himself in a good spot. And we'll have to see how he fares on this route, where, like you were saying earlier, this latter half of competitors has definitely done as you would generally think, but we did have some really seasoned competitors that kind of messed up in the qualification that qualified a little lower, so it's kind of that anything can happen scenario, but we've definitely seen a lot of these athletes on the men's side with this section kind of look a little fresher and be able to get through it a little better.
So I'd assume that he trains with Brendan, with Enrico as the coach.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a great training facility down there in San Diego, and Enrico is an amazing route setter, good climber. So what they're doing is working.
Love to hear that.
Yeah, it's cool to see these little programs around the country allocating a lot of resources and having really high-level coaching.
So crazy how far it's come.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the U.S. athletes and the competitiveness just keeps rising every year.
I was going to say that back flag from Maya looked really nice to do that match, but she does need to clip still.
She's fighting.
Yeah, I have to figure out how to get that clip. And now she's in a weird position. I was going to say she might have to get her foot up high in order to do it.
Definitely tough to clip from here.
Jaden doing a really good job.
Yeah.
He's looking really fresh, too.
He is. When we saw Declan here, Declan got through the sequence a little differently, and I think it cost him because his feet were poorly placed. But Jaden is climbing it perfectly.
Yeah, and he's getting really close to setting up for those final moves. As Maya was able to make that clip, that was impressive, but definitely zapped her energy, but should still be enough. And just lost Jaden. You were saying that, so we're excited to see our next couple athletes. We have Adrian Akiko Clark, and on the right we have Dylan Countryman. Quite the resume in terms of competition results. It's always a hard one because it's like all these athletes are so talented, right? I don't always want to get so hung up on results, but they do have some incredible results between the two of them. So excited to see what they can do here.
A ton of experience too, considering their age.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, Dylan 18 and Adrian 20, so
yeah, that's
young.
Just where the sport is too. You look at the World Cup circuit, and the best are like 18, 19 years old right now.
Yeah, I do think mid-20s is a sweet spot specifically. I mean, yeah, obviously we have some prodigies that come out at 16 and like never stop. I feel like Janja Gonrad's like a good example of someone like
Jakob
that.
Schubert,
yeah, exactly. But it does seem like 20s is that sweet spot because you've had a little bit of time on the circuit, you get some experience, but you're still like very young and can recover really well. You haven't hit your 30s, which is just all down. I'm just kidding. No, you can still be successful in your 30s. It's fine.
I mean, Jakob is, I think, in his 30s, and he's still one of the best.
He's a year younger than me. I think he's like 34.
Oh, wow. Dylan's slipping, but...
Good recovery.
Yeah.
Also, we have to mention Jane Kim, like...
Yeah.
She's 35, I think, had a baby, almost made the Olympics. Like, incredible.
Yeah. Still can make a final.
I think it's important to note how quickly both these athletes are climbing. Dylan already up in this really cruxy section for the men and still has 4.5 minutes to go, looking really fresh, making great decisions.
Yeah, Dylan has a style that's really fun to watch. He's really springy. He climbs quickly. He likes jumping. Sometimes I think to his detriment.
Yeah,
he gets
I was going to say.
He takes a little too much risk and lead. It works really well in bouldering for him. But I think he's not the tallest climber, so he kind of has to take some risks and go for holds in an unorthodox way. But like right there, he made a great decision. He wanted to jump left hand and then decided maybe not, because the left hand he's on now, you want a foot.
It's funny, I think he reads taller on camera, but he is only 5'7". He does have a really nice wingspan with a +5. That's definitely to his advantage, and I think that might be why he reads a little taller sometimes when you watch him climb, but 5'7" is definitely on the shorter side and pretty surprising when you watch him, because, I mean, Adrian is also 5'7", but she has plus half an inch, so that's not the same.
Yeah, well, Dylan was good at a young age, and I think he had to climb in a style that was a bit more dynamic. And now he's grown a bit, but unfortunately...
Off a little earlier than we probably would have expected. He had a little bobble there, but it should put him still in a pretty good position. We'll have to wait and see. Adrian looking
putting on
really
a clinic
fresh.
here.
Yeah. Now we'll have to see if she chooses to get into that heel hook. As we saw Quinn earlier, once you get the heel up, it feels uncomfortable. But like you were saying, I think as long as you commit to it, it will feel better. It's just they feel uneasy there right away because it's not as good as you want it to be for that body position until you move off of it. So she is in a better position now to keep going and hopefully get an attempt at that final move, which would be exciting to see. Yeah,
totally. She doesn't want to leave that left foot. To commit into the heel, you have to leave the left foot. But you know what? This method that they found is working, and she's chilling.
She looks very fresh, doing a good job shaking and chalking up while she kind of assesses what she wants to do. Now, see, when you're at this point of the route, if you have enough energy, that's a good thing to do, right? Because there's not so many moves to assess yet. And this is just showing how fresh she is. So she's now going to have to go and clip, which is smart, before doing this move. But then you see that little jib on the blue hold. That's what she's aiming for, and likely going to have to hit it and then jump out of it. But I was going to say, if she can get in a good enough body position, she might be able to do it more static. And now she just needs to clip to get the top, because in lead, you have to get that final clip in order to be awarded the points on the top. So Adrian Akiko is going to walk away with the top of the semifinal. Here's a quick look at that leaderboard. You see Jaden Perez holding that top spot at the moment, and Hugo Hoyer down on the bubble in 8th, and Adrian Akiko Clark right now in the top spot for the women with the top of the route. Ava Kaptanovich on that 8th spot. We'll have to see who's going to end up in the final 8 as Zoe Yi takes a moment to refamiliarize herself with the route. Another athlete that in the last couple years has made a splash on the elite side of the circuit. And Ellis Ernsberger on the right, another Texas athlete. Been around for some years now, definitely very talented and having a lot of great comp results in the lead discipline specifically. So he'll be looking to get back into the final where we've seen him many times.
I don't know if it's because of the competitions in Texas, but there's 5 Texans in the semi.
I don't know if it has anything to do with Texas. I think that's just normal because there's a lot of really talented Texas athletes. Being a Texan, to have it here.
It is cool. And Austin, as far as the climbing community is concerned, is like the little central Texas mecca. There's a lot of limestone around the area. A lot of Texas climbing history took place in the hills around Austin. So it's cool to have the comp here.
Yeah, it is really nice to have it here and have this beautiful state-of-the-art gym here, Mesa Rim. It was really exciting when we had this comp here a couple years ago when it first opened, and nice to see how everything's happened here a few years later. It's a beautiful facility. Both Zoe and Ellis taking their time, being very precise with all of their hand and foot placements as seasoned competitors would. It is just so cool to see people do that bump move, and like you can tell they're so fresh still.
Yeah, and Ellis actually out of sequence, but doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
just match that one-handed hold. It's okay.
No big deal. You see Zoe Yi on the left using that bolt cover, as we've seen a lot of the shorter athletes, and she is definitely one of them who is on the shorter side, 5'3" with a +2, so taking advantage of every extra little inch you can get to make movements. Definitely don't want to be jumping to holds you don't need to jump to, because the route asks you to jump for things in some situations, so save that for when it's actually required.
Yes, Zoe just moving so quickly, no problems.
Yeah, 4 minutes left still.
Yeah, see how this section treats her. It's a little bit slower climbing, so I think when you've been in a tempo for a while, it's easy to stay in it and not realize that slowing down is actually the better method.
I do feel like knowing her climbing a bit, she does have a more methodical approach to things. So, like, I feel like changing that tempo there is not, and as we're seeing, no problem for her. I feel like she does that really well. One of the C5 athletes.
Yeah.
Out of San Diego area.
Yep. Oh, no.
Oh, no. Just a little bit. It looked like she was too sunk. We have our next two athletes coming out for the women. On the left, Ella Fisher, and on the right, Cruz Padilla. Absolutely crushed at nationals this past fall, so it'll be exciting to see how he approaches this. Ella is from Tempe, Arizona, and this is not her first semifinal. She's been in semis a couple times, and she was 8th at nationals in 2024. I feel like I've seen her qualify pretty high in rounds, and then but she still hasn't made her way onto the podium yet, so we'll have to see if this could be
her
comp
year
for her.
Yeah,
she climbed really well yesterday, so see if she can duplicate that today. And a lot of these athletes will also be competing in the boulder discipline later on in the week, so it is a lot of climbing. I don't think we actually have anyone doing all 3 disciplines. I'd have to double check, but from my memory of what everyone signed up for, I don't think that's happening, but if they are, that's a lot of climbing.
Yeah, that would be impressive.
Yeah. I know at nationals, some of the athletes that did lead and boulder were definitely feeling it a bit, so.
Yeah, it's a lot, and the styles are so different. I'm not sure which I would prefer to do first. I guess I would like to do sport climbing first.
I agree, only because from a skin aspect, I mean, even though these holds are very fresh and they're going to lose skin regardless, but throwing yourself at a boulder for 5 minutes, I think you lose a lot more skin, so having that saved up, I think, is probably better.
Yeah, there's not much paddling happening in the lead.
Well, I mean, you never know.
Yeah.
Really nice climbing from both Cruz and Ella. No surprise there, but nice to see them reading the routes so well and really finding a good flow as they make their way. Cruz about to get into that first kind of cruxy section for the men, and then it kind of really doesn't let up from here.
He's out of sequence, but he's making it work.
I was going to say, I feel like some of the athletes that are a little longer, we saw Max Kaplan try to do that earlier and fall there, but I think if you do get out of the sequence, it's a good place to kind of go.
Yeah, we'll see if it cost him at all in the upcoming moves, but...
I was going to say, he's taking a little more time there, but committing to that already big cross move that he just made even bigger because he was a whole lower. That was really impressive.
And his foot was lower.
Yeah, that was very impressive. Ella kind of getting a little bit unsure of what she wants to do here, but it looks like she's now found a stance that is a little more comfortable for her. So we'll have to see if she can keep that momentum moving. Nice. Yeah, that section, I feel like if you just read it right and can find the right body positions, you can get through it pretty quickly.
And the blue holds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying the women's climb because the bottom is a little powerful and punchy, and then with the change in tempo, it's fun to watch how they can fight.
Nice little toe hook there for Ella.
Yeah.
She is not super tall. She's 5'5". Pretty good height.
Yeah.
She's just enough to actually make that work, I feel like.
3 moves to go.
Yeah.
We'll see what she can do.
She looks a little more tired than Adrian looked, but it does look like she might have enough to make it happen. It'd be really cool to see if she can get a top here as well. See how she approaches this move. I was going to say foot going lower than what Adrian did, so not as controlled. And with that, we have our final female competitor of the day, Melina Costanza. She is quite a successful competitor, really great climber person. And on the right, we have Ross Fulkerson, also another very successful competitor, both in the lead and boulder discipline, has even made a final in boulder at
a World Cup. Yeah.
Yep, which is no small feat.
No.
Very, very difficult to do. So he did not have his best nationals for boulder, but he is competing again here at team trials. He was in the final at nationals for lead, so hoping to get back in there. And both these athletes are off and making great decision so far, finding a good flow on the route.
Yeah, this is obviously both really top-tier climbers. Making a final in a World Cup is, most of the people on the circuit rarely see a final in their career.
I never saw one.
For Ross to have been in one says a lot. And then thinking back to Melina climbing at the National in the fall, and in the final, she made the finals route look so easy. It was like, okay, wow, just show us how this thing isn't that hard, I guess. And watching anyone else on it, you could tell it was just incredibly difficult.
Yeah, she really does make things look really easy. And, she's had she had injuries in the past, like recently, so she's had to miss some competitions here and there and kind of have to go through some hard stuff to get back here. But it's been nice to see her this last year really have so much success and be in full form again. Coming back after injuries is so hard, so nice to see it working out for her. And again, both these athletes moving quickly.
Yeah.
Nice decision making from Ross there, staying in sequence.
Ross is so fun to watch. He's so physically strong that he can just overpower moves sometimes. Shaking right there is
hard.
Okay, sure. I guess you can.
Why not? He's another one that has a lot of I love to watch him climb because he has a lot of physical emotion that you see when he's climbing. You really see him fight when he needs to fight, and he can celebrate when he needs to celebrate. That was surprising.
Yeah, a little bit of a mistake there, jumping for that.
And you mentioned that earlier with Dylan. You were saying that sometimes he jumps to his detriment, and that was a specific moment where we just saw Ross kind of do that, where you think you can be dynamic on a move that requires more static movement.
Yeah, and that was tough for him because the easier method is to put your foot, go hand-to-foot match. And with Ross being so tall, I'm sure it did not occur to him. It was not his first intuition.
Again, Melina kind of fumbling with that heel hook. We've seen a lot of the women kind of fight using it. This is what we saw Quinn do earlier. Oh, no. Just a little bit of bad route reading there. Not bad route reading, but, So Nathan Sato is about to step onto the wall.
He's got a great style. I remember watching him at a youth divisional I was setting, and he
used to be really little, too.
He was small, but he was really springy, and he climbed aggressively, and he just had a lot of fitness and strength, and he definitely stood out to me at that competition where I said, okay, who's this kid?
Yeah.
That was maybe 5 years ago, and he keeps showing up. He has one of the best attitudes of anyone in the U.S. circuit, in my opinion.
I agree.
Just so gracious and appreciative to everyone. Yeah, he's just a lovable guy. I don't even know him, but I just know him from a distance. I try not to know any of the athletes these days. Being a setter, even just optically, it doesn't look great. And some of them, the older ones, I know because they've just been around each other for so long. But
the community is so small, it's hard enough not to already have too many people that you don't need to know more. I totally get that, especially as a setter, right? Because setters and climbers don't need to have too much communication, right?
Yeah.
And it sounds like he's been working with Meghan McDonald now on Climb IQ as well.
Which makes sense.
Yeah. He is a very mindful climber, I would say.
He makes good decisions. The way he moves reminds me of a lot of the way a lot of her athletes move is just really efficiently. With a lot of IQ. With a lot of acumen.
For sure. He used to be really little on the youth side, and now he's 5'6" with a +4, so still on the shorter side of competition, even though, again, I feel like sometimes on screen, and depending on how people climb, they look a little taller, but definitely still on the shorter side for this competition.
Yeah.
Moving really well through this. And his mom volunteers at, every comp. And so it's really cool to see how their family is so involved in climbing as well. I believe sometimes his dad volunteers as well, but I feel like I always see his mom.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're his size, you have to, and I was saying this about Bob Dylan earlier, you have to take a bit more risk sometimes than some of the taller climbers, going for holds that the taller climbers can just reach. But I think you develop a style that is useful, especially for the modern style of setting, which is a bit punchier. And
yeah, you've spent more years in that zone, so it's not so out of your comfort zone, whereas like some of the taller climbers, when they get on the circuit, they're not as used to being forced to be dynamic, whereas someone like Nathan or Bob, they've done it their entire climbing career.
Yeah, exactly. That toe hook method is not the way. This is the way.
I was going to say, good adjustment.
And now you want a left foot, which we didn't use, but Nathan has the power and the gas in the tank.
Wow.
So
I was going to say, he's looking pretty fresh.
Yeah.
Taking those small shakes, too. When you're getting pumped, even just letting go with one hand to make a move is hard. So being able to just get a shake in is so impressive.
Yeah.
See if he can get up into this next blocked hold. This is that high point right now, so
you can see how small that edge is. Wow.
Closest we've seen, though.
Yeah, very good effort by Nathan.
Fingers on it. Sergey Lochno, another vertical world athlete. Yeah, different from Ross, though, in terms of stature. He is 5'5" he does have a really good plus. I can't do math right now, but his wingspan is 6'2", and he's 5'5". So if you can do quicker math than me, you can tell me what that wingspan is.
Is that +9?
I don't know. I'm about to have to count on my fingers. So.
You say 6'2"?
Yeah.
Wow, I think that's +9. That's a lot.
Yeah, I think you're right. Rivaling Allison Best. She has one of the best wingspans. I don't remember what it is, but it's very, very great. And Sergey is off. And this is the last time we're going to see this route today.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
This is
making
not
me a little
Sergey's,
nervous, honestly.
This is not his preferred style down here.
Yeah.
I think he just needs to get this part done, and then he'll be feeling right at home.
Yeah. It's already getting into like a bit of a better stance now. But yeah, that was making me a little nervous. I didn't really want to say anything. Not that anything I say really does mess him up, but it's hard not to get that in your head a little bit.
Okay, about to enter the steep climbing.
He'll be happier there.
Yeah, this is where he shines. Another vertical world athlete.
Yeah. So he was third at nationals this past year, second the year before. Last team trials, though, he ended up 22nd, so did not have the best day that day. So
yeah, I remember that competition. There was a dyno. The route was actually in this exact same position, and it was a jump to a hold that was kind of hard to see, and he just missed. So it was unfortunate to see him not make the final like that, because I think he was ranked quite highly out of the qualification.
Which sounds like it should be.
Right, yeah.
He is quite talented.
Where you expect him. Sergey not having much problem with this at all.
Yeah, definitely a lot left in the tank, taking those shakes while he can. It's always a good idea on competition routes specifically, like if you feel comfortable enough to get a shake in, to take it, because you just never know if it's going to be there later. I do think a lot of the really talented lead climbers can, from the ground, accurately find where they need to be resting and kind of break up the route that way when they're reading it. But still, you can never 100% know till you're on the wall. So it's always a good idea to kind of set yourself up for success by taking that time when you feel comfortable. Nicely through that really difficult move that we've seen a lot of the men have trouble with. So continuing to set himself up nicely to hopefully get up onto that head wall, where we've seen a few people try to do that move to the blocked hold up top, but not successfully getting it done. So we will have to see. Allison Best only has a +8 wingspan. She just texted me. So Sergey's must be a little bit better. Thanks, Allison. Love that. But hers is also 6'2". That's exciting. Gosh, I wish I had a wingspan like that.
See Sergey smiling.
So he's having fun.
He always seems to be soaking it up.
Yeah.
He'll walk out, he'll look at the crowd, and he's like, this is fun. You can just tell he really enjoys competition climbing.
And that's what you want to see, because, competition, I think everyone gets into it because they do enjoy it, but it is hard to keep that lightness to competition for a lot of athletes. So it is fun when you can see that an athlete is really enjoying the climbing. And I don't know, I feel like if you're not, you need to kind of reassess what you're doing. It's like, why are you doing it? So I do love to see it at this level. uncomfortable.
Wow, Sergey going
Whoa,
down.
all the way back down. Oof. That is an interesting choice. I mean, he does look very comfortable in this rest, but there is only so much you can get back, right?
For normal people, yeah, there's only so much you can get back. You can kick the right foot out and then clip. That's probably the easiest way, but a lot of people have been clipping from that purple ghost hold, which is for sure harder.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you grab that hold, you want a foot, and there's not one. So we saw Sergey trying to do a heel hook, and then he realized that's not the way. Yeah, if you just go hand to foot here, you're in there.
Which him being on the shorter side, that should feel
like
good to him.
This
but
sort of thing from Sergey is
say,
beyond impressive. That is so difficult to climb it that way.
And we've watched multiple athletes try that and fall there.
Yeah, not even close.
Yeah, that was wild. He's so strong.
Yeah, that's
too strong, basically. Apparently, he does a lot of weighted up-down-ups on like 513 level climbs. So being able to have that extra endurance with the added weight makes it possible for him to be doing what he's doing right now after going up and back down to the rest, which like most people can't do. But I do think had he not done that, maybe we would have seen a couple more moves. Currently, this is a leaderboard. You have Adriana Kiko-Clark, Ella Fisher, Melina Costanza, Quinn Mason, Olivia Ma, Annalise Van Hong, Zoe Yee, and Alexandra Inglaterra. And then for the men, and you have Nathan Sato, Jaden Perez, Sergey Lochno, Declan Osgood, Dylan Countryman, Ross Fulkerson, Bryce Nix, and Vale Everett in your top 8.